and the researchers all over the university and across the India. Uh, when we talk about today's issue, we are facing a big challenge of coronavirus that everybody knows. Everyone is, uh, everything, all the activities are slowed down or to stop, and everything came into in a silent piece of mode. So this is like when we see any type of issues or problems all over the world uh, in our life, we have to see the opportunity. So this is the opportunity we have to find out for like being an academician or a researcher or a practitioner. We have to thought, we have to introspect, and we have to develop our skills and our potentials. We need to plan our resources well behind the on time, and we have to do the capacity building like the students or the researchers. Over a period of time we can gain a new skill during this lockdown time period, and we can be a very effectively utilize that this time we have. So being said this, in the outset of coronavirus, I would like to thank to the organizer that they have given me an opportunity to present some thoughts related with the watershed and its management. What I plan in today's webinar, that the title of the presentation is Integrated Watershed Management Issues and Challenges. In other way, I will say, like when we discuss about the issues and challenges, we need to also find out the solution. So what are the ways and how we can find out the solution? So in other way, I will say an approach towards the sustainable livelihood and soil and water conservation. So when we talk about the watershed management, there are several things are included. It is basically not only one parameter or a one element of the nature or the ecosystem. There are several parameters which are affecting directly and indirectly on one another, and which produces another effect on another system. So this is keeping in mind the participants. Like I got heard that the participants are basically from civil engineering background, and basically they are undergraduates, postgraduate students, and faculties and the researchers. So what I plan in today's lecture, first of all, I will say about briefly, because the students are from different backgrounds, the participants are from different backgrounds. So first of all, I will talk about the watershed. What do you mean by the watershed? Okay, and what are the components which are involved in the watershed? Then what are the characteristics or the factors which are affecting on the watershed? How and when, or what are the different watershed management activities we need to do in the watershed? And in that way, when we talk about the watershed, we have to see also watershed means it is from a very small watershed like pond, from micro watershed or a mini watershed to a macro watershed. So it is according to the scale of extent, the name is varying, and the level of activities also varies. So in all these aspects, what are the government's initiative, like Indian government, that also I will share with you. And when we think of today's world, digital world especially, everything we want in hands. So how we can get all the information in hand, and that I will share with you. And being a scientist, we have to feel the problems in the field, and we have to find out the solution. This is our our practice should be like this, so that our research or our work will be beneficial for the society, or the development of the, or maintaining the ecosystem of the watershed, sub-watersheds, or the river basins. So here, basically, watershed is a, a smallest geohydrological unit which contributes its runoff to a common outlet. Means uh, when we say watershed, it is basically a water. It is this is in different terms, like we can also say catchment, or we can also say watershed. In English and USA term, the meaning is same. So here, this is the watershed, which is having, like, these are the different components of the watershed. Like this is the ridge line, then these are the common outlet of the watershed, and this is the drainage line, or you can say the small stream which further joins the outlet. So this is the area which separates, whenever there is a rainfall occurring on the watershed, it separates rainfall, and uh, all the rainfall, it is coming all over the watershed, which travels from farthest point to the outlet. So when we say this one, like this is in better way I can explain. These are the, like, say, when there is a rainfall, and these are the flow lines. Okay. When we see these flow lines, like this is, you can say, a ridge line. Okay, where some part of rain it is coming down, and some part it is going out, going out and going in. So this is again joining to the streams and coming to the outlet. So this is basically imaginary line which divides the flow direction, which is called as the ridge line. So this is the ridge line, and which separates the flow, and which comes to the outlet. So here, this is the common outlet, and again in this small watershed. Now we are thinking about very small watershed, which is having like two streams and one outlet. So here, these are the like two small streams. This is called as first order stream. This is called as first order stream. When two first order streams join, it becomes the second order streams. So this is a small example of watershed. So in the watershed, we will, in general, we see the different topographical conditions. So basically, I want to say the elevation points. So the ridge line represents the points of equal elevation in the watershed, which separates the runoff into the rainfall falls into the ridge line. It separates into the watershed, and it comes to the outlet. So here, these contour lines are very important, like for digitizing the, or identifying the watershed. So this is might be most of the participants, they might have seen the survey of India topo sheets. In the topo sheet, you will find these are the contour lines, which is having some fixed interval, and from these contour lines we can manually we can delineate the watershed, as well as we can do the automatic delineation of the watershed. So in the today's class, today's webinar, I will also come with two hands-on exercise. Like I thought maybe students will get benefit from this. So one is automatic delineation of the watershed boundary, its stream network generation by using the digital elevation model. And again, that digital elevation model I will generate from the Google Earth. So like when there is a for any area, if your existing digital elevation models are not working perfectly, then we can take use of the Google Earth. So I will come to that point and I will explore you how to generate the digital elevation models and the contours. So this is the practical view of the watershed, how it looks in practice. Like this is the ridge line which separates the flow of water and which flow through a different streams and join to the outlet. Okay. So saying this information like the basics, now you know the meaning of the watershed. So there are different types of watersheds available all over the land, which falls into the landmass. So the watersheds are basically classified based on the size, drainage pattern, shape, and the land use pattern. So when we say size, according to the size in India, watersheds are classified like mini watershed, who's having the area 1 to 100 hectares, micro watershed 100 to 1000 hectares, milli watershed 1000 to 10,000 hectares, sub watershed, and macro watershed. So it varies all the watersheds from mini to macro watershed. So in India, the government of India have prepared a comprehensive database with regard to the watersheds, because this is very important for village level planning, tehsil level planning, district level planning, and you can say state level planning. When we say the administrative type of boundaries, when we say the hydrological boundaries like watershed, sub-watershed, basin level planning, these are very important. So the government of India has prepared a atlas of all these watersheds. So I just want to share, there is a link which is given in the presentation. You can see, like this is the digital data available for all over the India. You can just click here, Atlas, click for Atlas, then you will get the India map, then whichever the location you want, you can just go. So let us say now we are from Uttarakhand, so just click on Uttarakhand, it will show you the Uttarakhand map, district map. Then let us say if you want to see any watershed from Dehradun, you can just click on Dehradun. It will show you all these watersheds. Okay, these are the different watersheds and which are having the unique ID number. So whenever any student or any researchers, they take a study for a research purpose or for a developmental purpose, they can simply refer these watersheds. Okay, so again you can go in detail, like say if you want to go with a very small micro watershed, you will get this watershed. Okay, again the government has planned very detailed watershed. So if you want to see, select only one small piece of watershed, you can just click it here. It will show you the micro watershed atlas of Uttarakhand in detail with a area specific. You can see the village level details. So this is the one thing I want to share with you. Then the next one is like how we classify the mini watershed, micro watershed, and macro watershed. So this is the one more PDF. It is available in the same website. This is very important document. You can see. Basically, I just want to show here, like in India, there are a lot of number of water resources are there. So many rivers are there. Very small river basin to large river basins are there. And for planning purpose, it should be properly delineated. So government has delineated from micro watershed to the basin level river basins. So this is, you can just see how we can delineate this micro to milli to macro watershed. So this is the one thing. So having said this, now like we have to think about the watershed management. As you know, as we are in the current scenario, we are facing a problem of the judicious utilization of our resources. So here, then the meaning of watershed is very important. So here, I already told you watershed is nothing but a geohydrological unit draining at a common point by a system of streams, means a number of streams within the catchment. So here, watershed management is a proper use of land and water for a minimum production, for a optimum production with a minimum hazard to the natural resources. So when we plan any, like human beings, they are planning for their getting the more benefits. So while thinking of benefits, we need to also think of the nature, so natural resources. Otherwise, our resources, because as you all know, our resources are not increasing or it is constant. It is day by day decreasing, especially the water resources. So we have to see, we have to maintain the our water demand and supply gap. So when we think about then watershed management, what should be the watershed management objectives? Okay, these are also the main challenges we face in today's world. Like say, to control the damaging. So first, watershed management objective is to control the damaging runoff and degradation of the soil, and thereby conservation of the soil and water. So first aim is to conserve the soil and water by reducing the runoff and the soil erosion. Then to manage and utilize the runoff water for useful purposes, to protect, conserve and improve the land of the watershed, then to protect and enhance the water resources, to check the soil erosion and reduce the effects of sediment yield on the watershed, to rehabilitate the deteriorating land, then to moderate the peak floods, increase the infiltration, and to improve and increase the production of the woods, timber, fodder, and wildlife resources, and to finally to enhance the groundwater recharge, so that during the lean time or during the dry season we can get the enough amount of water. So these are the main objectives of the watershed management. When we think about watershed management, there are different factors which are affecting on these activities. So first one is like watershed characteristics, like size and shape, how big watershed its shape, whether it is basically watershed is classified into two forms, fan shape and fern shape. Then topography, it is whether it is plain or the complex topography or the undulating topography. Then what type of soils are there in the watershed, relief, etc. Then another important factor which are affecting on the watershed activities, it is the climatic characteristics, like precipitation pattern, its distribution, spatial and temporal distribution, its intensity and amount of occurring in the watershed. Then another is the watershed operations, land use pattern, and social status of inhabitability, and then water resource and their capability. So these are the main factors which are affecting on the watershed management activity. So when we think about this, all this background information, now we have to understand, being a researcher or the student, like we need to find out, we need to understand the problems faced by the different communities and social systems, and then we need to find out the solution. So in case of watershed, when we think about two important aspects, like water availability, that is in other terms we can say the water supply, and another is the water demand. As we know, the population is increasing like spontaneously, and our resources are not increasing in that with that speed, and our water demand is so hence the water demand is increasing very high. So to meet this increased water demand, we need to find out the solution. So And another is one important aspect is the climate change. This is also affecting our resources in a worse. So here we need to find out, we have to fill the problems in a better way. So here, when we think of this water quantity domain and quality domain, we have to ensure a good amount or good quality of water as well as enough amount of water. So this allocation is very important. Now, when we think about the watershed management, these are the main watershed stakeholders like people, water, forest, land, and livestock. These are the important components of the watershed system. So in Hindi, we say Jal, Jungle, Jameen, or Janwar. These are the pillars of our society. When any pillar, if it just collapse, there will be adverse impact on our society or the people will face. So this is just one example. So when we say watershed management strategies and its response to the problem, we now have to find out the solutions. So what are the solutions? One is like in case of watershed management, there are two important measures we generally follow. Like one is the structural measures and another is called as non-structural measures. So in structural measures, which includes the that is also called as engineering measures, or you can say the engineering practices, the construction of the various types of structures across the contours, across the rivers, small streams, etc. And non-structural measures means vegetative practices. We can grow a different types of vegetation. So with this point, we will come again later in detail from where or what type of structure, what type of vegetative measures, and where we have to plan these activities in the watershed. So here, the tools, the important tools for the watershed management is two terms like soil conservation practices, land use planning, then building the dams or small reservoirs or small water harvesting structures, then agroforestry, then protected reserves, timber harvesting, and construction regulation. So these are the common tools which we follow for the watershed management. So when we plan these conservation measures, like we have to follow in a watershed all these activities in an integrated framework. Otherwise, like if one person is doing that one or one activity, it will not give much effect on the final output. So here we need to follow a integrated approach. So these are the different conservation measures like the gabion, contour trenching, masonry check dams, field burns, loose boulders, trenches, and so on. So these are all these small water harvesting structures. Then planting some plants or agroforestry we can plant to conserve basically to increase the infiltration and to conserve the soil, and so that it will ultimately reduce the runoff which is directly going to the outlet. So when we do this watershed management, what are the benefits we get? Like first one is the water conservation. That is very important. We conserve the water, we increase the infiltration, we recharge the groundwater. And the another one is drought mitigation, flood moderation. We reduce the flood. Agricultural production and food security. This is very important aspect. Rural employment, augmentation of rural livelihoods, ecological growth, ecosystem, regeneration of the environment, and safeguard of the nature. So these are the very important benefits we get by doing the proper watershed management activities. So here, now some of the important conservation measures which we can apply in a watershed. So I have shown you the important conservation measures. Now, where to construct those important conservation measures? Like in a watershed, we have these streams. Like as I already told you, the watersheds are classified based on the stream network, like the first order, second order, third order, or fourth order. So that this order indicates that the stage of development of the watershed. So in this watershed, if someone wants to plan a watershed management activity, how he will plan? So now this is the watershed. First of all, we need to delineate the watershed, and we need to generate the contours like points of equal elevation to plan the different biological and engineering measures to conserve the soil and water. Then we have to find out the location, like we can construct within a watershed some ponds across the watershed, then some small structures we can see based on or depends on the soil conditions, climatic characteristics, and topographical conditions, whether it allows to construct the structure. Then, so like this we can construct. Then another is like this is the main stream. We can also construct the retaining wall along the stream to conserve the water like this. Another is the check dam. So in the streams, we can also construct a number of check dams so that we can conserve the water. Otherwise, what happening whenever there is a rainfall during the monsoon season, all the rain occurring in the catchment area of these streams, it will directly flows to the outlet. And during the dry season, the upstream side people will face the water scarcity problem. So when we have this type of check dams, it will help us in increasing the groundwater recharge so that there will be enough amount of water will be available during the off season. So this is very important to find out where to construct these check dams and how to construct these check dams. And another is the contours. This is also one of the engineering measures. So along the contours, we can also create a contour bunds to conserve the basic purpose of these contour bunds is to conserve the soil and water. Then agrostology. Agrostology means like there are some crop species which are very useful for conserving the soil and water. Then, like this, we can construct different engineering and biological measures. We can also construct the contour trenches along the contours like this. This is just a one of the example. Then moisture conservation pits. This is also very important to conserve the water. Then agroforestry. So here now we have seen the different components of the watershed and what are the watershed management activities we can take and how to construct. So when you now you see the scale of planning. Now we have from milli watershed to the micro watershed. The size is varying from less than 100 hectares to the more than 1,000 hectares. So if anyone want to plan any watershed management activity manually, it will take a long time. So here the role of geospatial technology comes. So as you know, maybe the remote sensing and GIS is a very popular and useful tool for studying the hydrology and groundwater worldwide, not only hydrology and groundwater, so many areas of we can use this technique, especially for identifying the land use land cover change, urban development, rainfall runoff modeling, climate change, and so many other areas. We can see that point later. So here, what is the role of this technique under the land use land cover change? Like I already told you, there is a spontaneous growth of population, as well as because of this our land use land cover are changing, and then the water demand is increasing tremendously, so which affects the what ecology. So therefore these land use land cover are dynamic and very complex systems. When we say I talk about this one, that is, these are very complex phenomena, land use land cover and climate change, which are affecting and which involves several physical processes which operates at different spatial and temporal scales. So when we say this one, like I have not come to the point that the watersheds are classified in another way also, like one is agricultural watershed, also called as rural watersheds, and another is called as urban watersheds. So basically, when in urban watersheds, like we face many challenges. There is a contamination of the groundwater resources or water resources at very high rates, which results a water scarcity problem. Then, therefore, like being an researcher, the water sector makers and professionals, we need to understand the potential occurrence of this dynamic environment, especially on the watershed, so that we can plan our resources properly. So, in my view, even in the general term, like instead of focusing on supply side option, we need to apply water demand management tools. There are different water management tools. Not only we need to focus on supply side, that means on water availability side to increase the resources, we can also focus on the water demand management tools. So there should be, or you can say in other way, there is a need to find the way to save water, reuse and recycle to improve the water resources management. So this is now in present scenario, the future of this generic GIS. Like nowadays, wave GIS is very popular, but in that situation, in the current scenario, we need to also need some development in that regard. So, having said this one, like day by day, the world is facing new challenges. So, as we say, like in case of watershed or sub-watershed or a basin level, river basin, this is the upcoming challenge. Like because of the coronavirus, there is a increase in demand for domestic water because everyone is in house. Then there is also chance of like effects of disinfectants, biomedical waste such as face masks, hand gloves, which may pollute the surface and subsurface water and which degrade the quality of the water, as well as which can also impact on the environment. So it's the tracing of the virus movement and possible contamination. It is the current the challenges faced by the our scientific community as well as the people. So we need to have a focus on the creation of the water resilient infrastructure, as well as we have to maintain the greenhouse gas emissions. So this is just one idea, like the researchers, they can take the note. And now when we think about the watershed management, this is the very well known, you can say the composite index which the government of India came into the like in the year 2018, that is called as Composite Water Management Index, a tool which can be act as a critical lever for effective water management in India. So there is a necessity of such a type of composite water management index at the watershed level, sub-watershed level, or the basin level. So which can so that we can decide or which can give us the idea about the that water indicators. You can say the baseline and benchmark, progress on water issues, identify areas of deeper engagement and investment in the watershed, sub-watershed, and river basin scale. So having said this one, this is just a now issues and challenges we have seen and the basics of the watershed and watershed management. Now just for maybe I thought for the BTech students or even for the staff, just to give you some exposure on GIS. Okay, so GIS, everybody knows, it is basically a computer-based tool for holding, displaying, and manipulating the huge number of special data. As we saw, the watershed varies from very small milli watershed to the micro watershed. So when we think of planning this watershed, it is very difficult to do the planning manually. So this GIS platform, GIS and remote sensing platform, this is very useful in this case. So in basically in GIS, there are two important terms we use, like vector and raster. Raster means it is basically the representation of the pixels with some values, that is called as digital number, which varies from 0 to 255. So which allows the certain type of operations, and we can also do this interpolation. So this is the raster, okay, and the another term is called as vector. Vector is basically which stored the data like points, lines, and polygons, which uses the less memory as compared to the raster data. So any person which are working on the GIS, we need to understand these two basic terms, raster and vector. So what type of analysis we can do from this GIS? Like we can do the measurement, we can get the layer statistics, we can do the queries, buffering, filtering, map overlay, transformation. So these are so many things we can do by using the GIS. So these are the practical application of the GIS, like we can use for urban planning, management and policy, environmental sciences, political sciences, civil engineering, business, education, real estate, and healthcare. As we see nowadays, for the coronavirus, GIS is or web GIS is performing a very critical role in different management activities. So for remote sensing and GIS, there are two important softwares. That means there are so many softwares available, but like ERDAS is the basic software we use for image processing. NV is there, ERDAS Mapper is there. Then ArcGIS and QGIS. ArcGIS is the protected software, while the QGIS is the open source software, which we can use for the GIS database creation and spatial analysis. Along with this GIS software, there are several hydrological modeling tools are also available, like SWAT, rainfall runoff modeling toolbox, water evaluation and planning model, storm monitoring management model, ModPlay. So just for to give the exposure to the students, they can see further this software in detail, but at this time it is very difficult to give the demonstration on each software. So here now in GIS, I already told you there are two important terms, raster and vector layer. So whenever we do create any special database, we need to we need to remember certain things, like whenever you create any database, you should create first in one umbrella, that is personal geodatabase. Under this umbrella, you have to create all these classes, like that is called as feature dataset. Then we can do the either we can do the online screen digitization, or we can get this data from the some derived other sources, like from the topo sheets or from the digital elevation models. So here there are three different features which are represented. The first one is the line feature. Generally in nature, like contour, drainage map, river network, canal network, and transport network, we represent by the line feature in the GI. Then the point features are like lithologs, observation wells, pumping wells, rain gauge, and spot height. These are always we should represent by point feature. Then the next one is the polygon feature. Polygon feature is like watershed boundaries, then district boundaries, block boundaries, command area. These are generally represented by the polygon feature. So when we do this, all these watershed management activities, what are the data we require? First of all, we need the topographic map, that is called as digital elevation model. Nowadays there are different sources are available. Like we can get the 30-meter resolution digital elevation model. We can get the 90-meter resolution digital elevation model from the open source data sites, like the SRTM. Then from also we can create the high resolution digital elevation model by doing the contour survey, or we can get from the other sources, like from the ALOS Pulsar or so on. Then the next important data we required is land use map. So land use map, generally we can get it from National Remote Sensing Center or some freely available data sources from the Global Land Cover Facility. We can get the freely Landsat data is available. Then the another is soil map. Soil map, there are two important sources are available. Either we can get it from the Soil and Land Use Planning Department from the Government of India, or otherwise we can get the soil data from the Food and Agricultural Organization. Then the next important data we required is the climatic data, like precipitation, temperature, wind, relative humidity, and solar radiation. This we can get it from the Indian Meteorological Department, or from there are different sources are also available. Then the next one is the hydrological data, like river flow data, stream flow data, sediment data, which we can get it from either from the Central Groundwater Board, or from Central Water Commission, CWC, or from central state government departments, which are related with the water resources. So now, this is just, I want to show you one example of hydrological model. That is very famous model, soil and water assessment tool, which we can use it for understanding the watershed activities. Like we can, so this is there are different applications of this software for the water availability assessment, as well as for water quality assessment, and then for generating some mitigation measures or adaptive measures in the watershed. So this is the basic methodology for the SWAT model. Now I just want to share one case study, and then we will move to the another topic. So this is the basic case study on soil erosion assessment, watershed management, and groundwater analysis. Like how practically we use this modeling tool in doing for the watershed management. So now we have used like GIS for estimating or for predicting the soil erosion potential from in the watershed. how there is a potential of the soil erosion when there is a no conservation practices applied and when we apply any conservation practices like terracing and contours. So how there will be the impact on the soil erosion. So this is the small case study we have done by using the universal soil loss equation model. So here we find like this is the without any practice there is a soil erosion, and this is with some practices how there is a control on the soil erosion. We can see easily. Again, we can plan this using this GIS. We can plan at very small micro watershed level planning, and then we can plan the watershed management activity. So this is a very small thing I just want to show you here. We can also find out where to construct these different types of structures. We can do this planning by using the GIS software. And then this is very important for the government to release any package. Anyone like the policymaker should know what amount we need to spend for different activities in the watershed. So this tool will give us the rough idea how much investment we need for doing these activities, so that we can reduce the soil erosion and we can conserve the water. So this is the also GIS is very useful for identifying the water stress areas, like where there is a critical groundwater availability. You can say the critical the groundwater level is critically going down. So we can identify using the GIS. This is very simple example. So this all will help us in deciding the number of structures and vegetative measures, and then finally to come up with the certain amount of the cost which we need for this watershed management activity. And then we can also do the impact analysis, like say in the present condition what is the status of the watershed, and in after the intervention what is the status of the watershed in terms of the groundwater levels. So this is all about you can say the overall presentation, but I just want to summarize here and then I will come to the practical aspect. So here what we have seen the different parts of the like watershed. What do you mean by watershed? Watershed management, its objectives, what are the factors impacting on the watershed, and how we deal with the different engineering and biological measures to conserve the soil and water, as well as to get the other benefits. As well as we have seen these different activities, how and where to plan these activities, and what type of activities we plan in the watershed management. So here overall, say in overall, like I will just summarize this presentation in few points, like say the quantification of land use, land cover and climate change impacts on water resources sustainability. We need to identify, we need to quantify these two effects, how it is impacting on the water resources sustainability, and then ultimately in the overall health of the watershed. Then the strengthening capacity for the sustainability of the water resources. We need to also build a capacity building of the young generation, so that it will be very easy for the implementation purpose. Then we need to follow the participatory integrated watershed management approach, which is the key to address the water scarcity, or you can say to achieve the water security. Then the soil and water conservation through various conservation approaches, like whether it is structural or non-structural measures, we can plan across the level of the watershed, from the milli to macro watersheds. And in that all this planning, we need to follow the integrated approach, like use of the remote sensing and GIS, which can be used as an efficient tool for monitoring and evaluation under the changing climate, as well as under the land use, land cover change. So here there are some important issues related to the watershed, whether it is urban watershed or whether it is agricultural watershed. So we need to, like say, water demand management is an important strategic approach to meet the new challenges of increased water scarcity. Then we need to have also develop a comprehensive water management and climate change adaptation strategies to suppress the adverse impacts of climate change. And there is also, as I mentioned you, water management composite index. There is a need to develop a well-designed standards and operational procedures on this with respect to the watersheds also. So in way, instead of focusing on supply side, we need to also focus on the demand side. And finally, like this, when we think about the development of water demand management techniques and their integration with supply management options, which may provide an alternative in uncertain climate scenario. So this is my overall presentation. Now I will take you to show you a two things, like how to create a digital elevation model by using the Google Earth, and finally again later on how to delineate the same using the same digital elevation model, how we can delineate the watersheds. So these are the two important things I will demonstrate now. So for that purpose, what we have to do, it is a very simple technique. Everybody, I think, familiar with the Google Earth. So in the Google Earth, let us say we will generate a high resolution digital elevation model for Dehradun. Like just put the Dehradun, and it will take you in the Dehradun. Okay. Now then, in the Google Earth, there are different options are there. Like this is the file, edit, view, tools, and add. So we can add path, we can add polygon, we can model. So in case of now, this is I will just show you the important points only which are related with the creation of the digital elevation model. So what we have to do, you have to click on the path. You can also alternatively, you can find it here, that is add path. Then you can just give the name, that is spot height. Spot height. Okay. And you just go put the cursor where you want to get the spot height. Spot height means the points of the elevation. So here you can just press the left arrow of your mouse and drag it in a circular manner, circular or random, whatever it is. So you just do it like this. So as much as possible, you take the more points so that you can get the good digital, that means the good resolution digital elevation model. So I'm just taking these points and creating collecting the information, that is the elevation information from the Google Earth. Okay. So like this you do this one. Then what you do, just once you take on the sufficient points, then you just click on OK. Then just right click again and save place as spot height. So you can just create one folder. So I'm just creating one folder, that is the test. Okay. So you just save this file as a KML file. So there are two options in the Google Earth. One is KML file, another one is KMZ file. So you can just save as a KML file in the test folder. Okay. So now the work of Google Earth is finished. So we have converted this spot height into as a KML file. So just minimize this Google Earth. Then now there are different options are there to convert this KML file into the shape file. So I will just take you the very simple way. The one is like you can also create the KML file into the shape file in the ArcGIS, but I will take you by using this small simple link. This is the website you follow for converting your shape file, KML file to the shape file. So in this website, you just go to this point that is called as lookup elevation. So in the Google, in the web address, you just type gpsvisualizer.com and go to the lookup elevation. Okay. So you will find like this. Okay. So just go to the DM database and see here there is a upload file. So just select choose file option. Go to the folder test, webinar, test, and spot height. Okay. Then there is the next option, convert and add elevation. Okay. And then output you want in GPX file. There are two options. Either you can go for GPX file or plain text. So here there is a file ready to download. You can just click there. Click to download .gpx file. Now this file is ready. So I will just copy that file and paste it here. So this is automatically downloaded in the default folder, default drive. So this is the test. Okay, I'm just keeping it here. Now I have also quoted this small simple steps so that you can easily follow. Okay, so we have converted, we have downloaded the .gpx file. Now just open the ArcGIS. I think some of you are familiar with the ArcGIS or some of you may not be familiar. So in today's class there is no much time, so I will just go only the concerned points. So in this, now we have to see in the ArcGIS there are different toolbox are there. Like say this is the toolbox in red color. Just click on this toolbox. It is here. Okay, I already clicked on the toolbox. Then just go to the conversion, and in conversion you will find there is one file that is from GPS to the feature class. Just click it there. Okay. Then browse the GPX file, like go to the concerned folder, go to the test and browse this GPX file. Okay. Now give the output feature class where you want to save your output. So just again go to the concerned folder, test, and just give the name, that is spot height. I just give a simple spot height. Okay, and then just check it. This is the feature class now. Just save it and just say okay. It will run the program. So this is now the spot sites. Okay. So what we got now, these are the spot sites. You can see like these are the points. You can also check whether the data is correct or not. Okay, like this. And then these are the elevation of the each point. Okay, you got the elevation of the point. Okay, now using this data, now we can also create digital elevation model and we can also generate the contour map. So now I will show you how to create the this one. So digital elevation model. So you just go to the again here toolbox. Then either you go to the special analyst or 3D analyst, and then just go to the interpolation. Then just go to the inverse distance weighted method, that is IDW, Kriging. So any one method, IDW is famous, so you just select it here, spot height. Then Z value, you just select elevation, and then again select where you want to save your output. That is, let us say DM, and then save it. You can also select the output cell size, what cell size you want, okay, and then you can modify it. And then otherwise you can reproject it later on. So you can just click OK. It will generate the digital elevation model, or you can say that it will interpolate the spotlights and create the model. So here now from this you can just see this is your digital elevation model. Now you can, from this DM, you can also generate the contours. So now there is again you go to the special analyst, then go to the, so here I have given you the complete steps, so you can easily follow this one. So you can just go to the, now again to the raster surface, which you can find it here, surface. You can just click on the contour. You just click here DM, and you can select the output feature, like say contours. And you can also provide the contour interval, like say let us say I'll give 5 meters, and just say OK, like this. So it will give you the contour map, and from these contours are very useful for different purposes. So you can just see very good contours are created. So now this is the one exercise, very simple exercise, how to create the digital elevation model from the Google Earth. Okay. Now I will show you one simple exercise now, how to delineate the watershed. Okay. So I'm just close this one. I'll just take a new project. So in this case, in ArcGIS, you need to install the soil and water assessment tool if you want to delineate the watershed by using the digital elevation model automatically. So here, other than that, you can also generate the delineate the watershed in ArcGIS, but using SWAT, it is very simple and user friendly. So you just click on the, here I have already installed the SWAT. You just click on the SWAT new project. It will ask you the project setup. So you can just browse the project directory where you want to delineate the watershed. So now I will just create one folder, that is test. Okay, and then just you provide the path. Okay, sorry, it is gone in the references. So I'll just click on test SWAT. Okay, now it is correct. So just click on OK. Okay, now this is the project setup is done. So in this case, now I will take, you can take the same digital elevation model and you can create this one. But for the time being, I'm just taking one, already I have one data set, that for that data set, I have the one boundary as well as the outlet. So just for validation purpose. So I'm just taking this one. This is the digital elevation model. So when you will open again in the ArcGIS, it will look like this. So you can, later on, you can just do some modifications if you require. So here, this is the automatic delineation. So for the time being, I just want to include the boundary. If you have the outlet position of your watershed, you can add that one, or otherwise, if you have boundary, you can just add that boundary, so that you can easily track the delineate the watershed. So here you just click on automatic watershed delineation. Okay. So you just browse that digital elevation model. Let's say either from load from the disk or from the map. Then just click on that file, particular file, digital elevation model file, and browse it. So this is now already the file is here. Now click on DM projection setup. Okay. So you just click on the Z unit meter, and then just click on the next, that is flow direction and flow accumulation. So here watershed delineation you will find only in one interface only. So everything you will find in one interface. So that is very important. So like this, it will generate the streams and flow direction and the flow accumulation files. So once it's complete, then we have to we have to give the threshold. That is very important. So in case of, as we have seen, there are number of streams are available from the micro watershed to the macro watershed. So those streams, all the streams are not important in case of when we talk about the scale of watershed. So at the different stages, of course it is important, but if you are going for very large watershed, the very small streams will have the less values. So we have to, in that case, we have to give the threshold, that is called as area threshold. So here in area threshold, we have to provide the area threshold. How much is the area threshold we have to give, so that those streams can also include in the watershed delineation process. So my computer is slow, that's why it is taking more time in completing this step. Okay, so I think once it runs, I'll show you, but my computer is not responding.
Yes, sir. It takes time, sir. Actually.
yeah, it takes
Yes,
time
sir.
because the area is taken a little bit more. Anyway, so this is very small exercise. Maybe the students can just generate the digital elevation model by using the SWAT. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
Yes, sir.
Just 1 minute. I'll just refresh it. Maybe if I refresh it, then it may work. Anyway, yeah, it is not responding. So if meanwhile, if anyone is having any questions, they can ask, so that if it is ready, then I will just show you the final output. Yeah, it is ready now. So just click on OK. Next one is you have to give the threshold. So just give the threshold, that is like, let us say 50 hectares, and just create the streams and outlet. So you can just see the progress here, how it is creating a delineating the watershed. So like this. So these are the streams generated by using the existing digital elevation model, that is, which is created by using the Google Earth. Okay. So now there is a next step. We have to find out the like, it depends on your interest, on which watershed you want to work. So what you can do now, in present case, like I have one watershed boundary and I want to work for this watershed only. So you just select any particular like probable location of your outlet position. So this is now how to select the outlet. So add sub-basin outlet. Like you can add any number of sub-basin outlets here. So now this is, if you see this small watershed, it is having, I want to consider because I have the point location of the outlet. So I will just click it here, just press, go place the point here and press the left button once and right click and say stop editing. It will just save the point. Then, so it will save the outlet location. Now it is, next point is whole watershed outlet. So you can just click on OK. It will, outlet will select and just click on delineate the watershed. Okay, so this will delineate the watershed considering the outlet point what we have given. So this is the like this. So this is how now watershed is delineated. It's sub-basin, all the streams, and then you can get all the statistics here. Like say, once you click it here, the reduce report, it will give you the all the statistics. So just only a few seconds only now. You can we can just finish this process. Yeah. Now this is how we delineate the watershed by using the soil and water assessment tool. Again, it is not responding. Anyway, so if the participant
it takes
is
a
having
minute or so. Yes, sir.
yeah. If anyone is having questions, I can just respond to them, or otherwise they can also personally call me and they can also communicate through my email.
It was a very informative session, sir. Especially watershed management in today's time is a very needed approach towards the conservation of water. And I was just wondering on a few questions myself also, but it was very informative and detailed in the way you explained, very especially the digital elevation model, which you could explain, because usually we read a lot of theoretical portions inside the class, but the actual application on the software and how to create these models, these are where students feel stuck up without any help. So a webinar like this, which can actually demonstrate a live model and how to create that kind of DEM, is a very great way of explaining about the watershed management. It was a very wonderful session, sir, and I'm very hopeful that all our students will find it, and even the faculty members, it was very enriching and enlightening from the knowledge point of view, and it will play a very vital role in the field of watershed management and the water resource knowledge bank of the engineering community. I also wanted to ask you one question, sir. They were so when we do this kind of delineation of watershed in urban areas, there are urban hilly regions, then there might be some points and some areas where the alignment may be going through some already occupied region. So what is the corrective measure that we adopt in such cases?
Yeah, this is very good question. Like I told you only one approach, that is like when we don't have any data available, that means there is no data available at all in such a condition. So whenever we generate or we delineate the watersheds, by using some existing digital elevation models, either like what I shown you. There are also some other sources, like you can create digital elevation model by using the topo sheets, okay, by using the SRTM like 30 meter, 90 meter, or even 12.5 meter. But in all these models, there are some errors are there, some gaps are there. So you have to physically verify those things in present scenario and see how these models, they are, whether they are correctly reflecting the present scenario or not. So we have to again, if such a condition, in such a condition, we can modify even these digital elevation models. What we have, we can modify those digital elevation models. Okay, and then we can consider the we can consider and modify those things like this. So how it is, like say, if we have global this SRTM, maybe you know the SRTM 90 meter. In SRTM 90 meter, you just generate the contours and let us check those contours, the practically, or streams, even the streams, whether those streams are accurately it is representing or not. Then you can, those things you can again go to the software, like any GIS software. You go to the ArcGIS and then you can correct those points by giving your corrected input, like the spot height, and then you can again create the digital elevation model. Or there are also some other options are also there in the SWAT, like you can do the stream burning and so on, and then like this, if you have some data, so it will automatically, it will correct the error. So now this is now our watershed delineation is completed here. Okay, you can just see. Okay, again, still it is taking time. So whether are you satisfied with this?
Yes, sir. That is a very detailed explanation of how we will deal with this. I would like to request the participants to kindly take care of filling the feedbacks after the session. Though the session is still on, we still have a couple of questions, and one more question that I would like to ask you is, what is the difference when we do this watershed management in an area with a rocky terrain and in an area with a soil based terrain, mostly not non-rocky terrain? So is there a difference that comes, and or it is the alignment would be the same, but the underlying the formation of checks and bunds, and that would be a difficult task to be implemented in those areas?
This is also a very good question. Actually, whenever we do plan for any watershed management activities, all this what structural measures and non-structural measures what I discussed, these are not planned in same fashion. So it depends on the topography, mainly what type of topography we have. Accordingly, we select the proper structure, whether it is contour bund or whether it is trenches or whether it is we need to go for check bunds, check dams, or any big reservoirs. So it is depend on particularly what type of topography and climatic conditions we have. That is also very important, as well as the soil. These are the important things we need to consider when we have to plan these activities.
Okay, okay. Thanks a lot, sir. Our moderator, Dr. Ayush Chandrakar, he will ask you some questions because he is an expert of water resource area in our department. I'm sure he must be having a lot of queries to be asked. So I will hand it over to him. He will ask you some questions.
Okay. So just before going to show you this one, like say this is the now watershed delineated. So in each watershed, like this is a sub watershed, it is generated. So we have to see this one in practically, whether how it is, whether these are the boundaries are there or these are the streams, it is correctly represented or not. This one, all this. So these are the sub basins. So in nowadays, like say it is very easy. Simply you can, everybody knows the Google Earth. So you can just add in the backdrop of this watershed like say base map and see whether the area what we have selected, it is correctly representing DEM or not. Okay, so I'll just off this some layer. Okay, meanwhile now you can ask me any questions related with this topic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sure, sir. Sir, first of all, thank you for such an informative presentation, sir. So it was just going back to the drawing board for us. So thank you, sir, for the session. And sir, I would just like to ask you one question that I had for such a long time. Sir, how can we motivate the stakeholders to actively participate in watershed management? Because, sir, in my opinion, they are the major beneficiaries of such drives. But it has been often seen that they are reluctant to take step forward toward development. Again, many rural areas, they are quite reluctant to actively participate in watershed management. But as we all know that the participation is the key component towards watershed management. So, sir, how can we do that, like in the coming future?
Okay, this is also like for planning any watershed management activity. I already told you it is basically an integrated framework.
Yes.
We have to follow an integrated approach where the stakeholders can participate in the participate in the development of the all the development processes of the watershed. So here for the encouragement of the stakeholders, it is very important, like say, either we can go through some like social networking sites, we can aware the problem to the stakeholders, and we can also tell them the solutions, what are the probable solutions which you can get it from doing these activities, so that they can get encouragement. Also, we need to have some like that is called as SDD, that is no SDG, that is self. You can say we can form some groups according to the level of their competency, and then we can engage them starting from its beginning, from identifying the problem, from for identifying the strategies, and then actually executing those activities in the field level. So these are in this way we can engage them in the process so that they will also feel good, and then they can actively participate in the watershed management activities. I think this is my view.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And sir, one more thing. I just so it's a very great opportunity for me to interact with you. So just I wanted to bring up something. So I recently read an article that this post-pandemic, the per capita water demand has increased slightly in India because
Yeah.
many of the people are staying at home, so they are washing their hands quite oftenly. So, just I would like to ask you, like, what's your general opinion about the water planning in urban cities as well? Like, because of the increasing per capita demand, so what would be the challenges faced to the planners post this pandemic?
Yeah, this is a very important challenge. Now the scientific community as well as the policymakers or as well as the community or stakeholders, which we have to address just after the post-COVID, post after the post-COVID events. Now, in this case, what we see now, like there is an increased water demand, and uh, our like what I told you, the our supply side is not that much strong. Our resources is getting dried. Like if you see of the Himalayan resources, like the springs, natural springs, or in the plains, the groundwater level, it is going day by day. It is going down. But even in the surface water resources also, the availability is not increasing, but our demands are increasing. Then now the industrial demands, agricultural demands are not that much, okay, as compared to the urban water demands. But maybe after post-COVID, there will be sudden drastic increment in these demands. So to cope up with this, we have to prepare ourselves. We have to plan it, our resources properly, so that we can avoid the panic situation. I think this is what
Yes, sir.
my observation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this wonderful insight of yours, sir, and thank you
So this
for
is
your.
now see, I
Yes,
just
yes.
want to show you this one. So now you see, this is the one area from the Maharashtra, which we have created the digital elevation model. So now you have to see what we have created digital elevation model, whether it is correctly representing the area or not. Okay. So okay, just so this is the just last only this one. So this is the area, okay, and this is the really this stream going, but still you can now this digital elevation model and its streams and its watershed delineation you can compare with the other data sources so that you can get the correct representation, as well as you can go into the field and see whether this is correctly representing or not, and then you can use this database for further your studies like this. I think this is all from my side. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, yes.
And
So the
to
pleasure
present
was
my
all.
small piece of
The
work.
Yes, sir. The pleasure was all ours, sir, for hosting you. I think it was a wonderful lecture and quite informative for the student as well as the faculty members. So, sir, I would cordially like to ask Dr. Mansha to proceed with the vote of thanks. And thank you for joining us, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's a very interesting webinar that we have attended right now, and I deem that it is a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all those who have helped us in making this faculty development program such a wonderful success. And I would like to thank our distinguished speaker, Dr. Santosh Pingle, for making an excellent presentation and making the seminar interesting and very meaningful with the live demonstration of the digital elevation model. Apart from that, I would also like to express to our profound gratitude to our HOD sir, Dr. Anshu Tomar sir, officiating head Mr. Harsh Goel, and our Dean Academic Affairs, Dr. B.K. Singh, for their moral support and guidance. And a special thanks goes to Dr. Ayush Chandrakar for moderating the session and sharing the area expert domain knowledge also with us. And also, I'm happy to express vote of thanks to our staff members, especially to the technical team in DIT University who have supported us in making this event a great success. And also to the attendees for being patient and sparing their valuable time. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Santosh Pingle and for all of you for your cordial cooperation, and have a good evening, everyone. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.